Welcome back to another episode of the North Star Takes podcast, a breaking news edition as the Minnesota Wild have traded Kevin Fiala to the Los Angeles Kings, and in return, they are getting this year's first round pick, number 19 overall, and defenseman Brock Faber, who is a second round pick in 2020, currently playing for the Minnesota Gophers. We knew this was coming eventually, Liberta. It was kind of a foregone conclusion, just the way Bill Guerin had been talking about Kevin Fiala, on various media outlets. The way Michael Russo has written stories about how the Wild basically have no choice but to trade Kevin Fiala due to the salary cap restraints and the contract he's going to demand. It's unfortunate he got traded into the Western Conference. We'll still have to deal with him on a pretty regular basis. We do play the Kings quite often. What are your thoughts on the trade overall? I know it's hard to know a lot about Brock Faber, seeing as he's still in college. He actually just got named a captain for the upcoming season for the Gophers today. So crazy stuff going on here. But what are your thoughts on the trade?
Yeah, geez, what a day for Brock Faber. Get named a captain of the team and then you get traded. But before, like you said, you're going in your college hockey season, your NHL squad just traded you, but especially in a blockbuster move like this. But like you said, the writing was on the wall for Fiala, unfortunately. I think after the season he had, we're all hopeful, I guess, like as it was going, that we'd find some way somehow to keep him around, just because like he had the best season ever by a Wild player as far as points go, besides his teammate this year, also Kaprizov. So
yeah,
that's kind of hard to swallow, to just let him go, but it's like that's what had to be done. Kind of nice to pick up a first round pick, and then like I said, a good quality defenseman prospect, because our defenseman, I think that was really one of the key reasons why we ended up out in the first round like we did. Mm-hmm. So it sucks, but I mean, it is what it is. Like I don't think there's much choice in this, and if this is the best offer out there, I don't really care if it's Western Conference or Eastern Conference. And I think the only line I'd probably draw is just within the division. But I think send them to LA, yeah, like you said, you're still going to see the Kings a fair amount of times, but it kind of is where it is. And hopefully Faber is going to be a good defenseman for us down the road. But yeah, this is definitely a win in the future kind of move. Definitely not helping us win right now. So I think that's important to keep in mind too, as far as thinking about what Bill Guerin thinks of this team and its chances like right away this season.
Yeah, it's really interesting. The Kings have a loaded prospect pool, so it kind of made sense that this would be the direction they go. Brock Faber apparently is one of the best defenseman prospects in the NHL as of right now. I've seen from a couple different outlets. I don't know much about him, so it's hard for me to say. But yeah, you're right. This is definitely a move for the future. They're not, they didn't make a move to help them come back and compete, more next year. It's going to be hard for them to replicate what they did last year. I mean, the best regular season they've ever had in franchise history, but they still got bounced in the first round. All these guys had career years. I mean, they're going to absolutely regress back to the mean when it comes to some of these, individual seasons they had and just the team success in general. A lot of people might be upset that they're not trying to maximize, Kirill Kaprizov's prime years right now, but we don't really have the cap space to completely maximize it due to the buyouts of Parise and Suter. So another thing I'm wondering is if this Brock Faber trade, I mean, he's not going to play for us next year. He's still in college. But I wonder if this eventually sets up a Matt Dumba trade as well. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know much about Brock Faber. I don't know if he's a right shot or left shot, even defenseman. But, I mean, all of a sudden we got some defenseman prospects as well, because I know we have a couple guys down in our system as well that they're pretty high on. So it's interesting. We needed the defenseman help, but we almost need it immediately rather than in the future. So, and the first round pick was pretty obvious. I mean, Fiala is definitely worth a first round pick. So, just an interesting trade in general. I was kind of hoping we'd get a little bit more for it, but it could turn out to be a really good trade, 2-3 years down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just kind of a lot to process right in the moment. You just knew it was coming, but at the same time, it's still a bit shocking. I kind of figured it was still a few days away, I guess.
Yeah.
And I know that the team always felt like it was going to be the Devils, and it didn't turn out that way. But like you said, I think he was easily worth a first-round pick plus something. So it's good we at least got a couple assets. But at the same time, yeah, it's a little bit, I don't know if concerning is the right word, I guess, but because it feels like Guerin's always got a plan for everything. So to get a defenseman that's that far away where he's still going to another college hockey season where he hasn't even played in the AHL or anything like that. So that feels pretty far off. And maybe this is the right move, the right road to go down as far as this team goes, just because, like you said, we had the best regular season in franchise history last year. I don't think we get much better than that. We still got bounced first round, and you have a Colorado team in your own division that, like, is certainly not going anywhere. Like, they're going to be a pretty high flying contender for these next couple of years at least. So I think you got to keep that in mind too, as far as your chances go, and really picking a winning window for your franchise. And right now, Colorado just won the Cup. They have a bunch of young talent, a bunch of stars that they can win with, not only this past season, but for these next couple at least. So, and then you also mentioned the preseason suitor contracts. I think our bed was made as far as that goes. That's the price you pay sometimes for bad contracts. They come back to bite you, and this is the exact scenario. It's like between Parisi and Suter, I think, compared to last year and how much we paid them and for the buyout, because it was much less than it will be these next 4 years. So then compared to now, I think it's like an additional $10 million combined between the two of them at least. And it's like, well, there's your cap space that you could have theoretically used towards keeping Fiala around, but it is what it is. So I guess the portion to blame here is definitely Parisi and Suter, and then as well as Chuck Fletcher for signing those ridiculous deals back in the day.
Yeah, and Bill Guerin basically said all along, like, he doesn't regret doing that. He knew what he was doing at the time. And, we've largely praised Bill Guerin. He's done a fantastic job since he stepped in. But I think fans are starting to get a little on the fence about this whole thing, because it's like, man, Kevin Fiala is one of the best players in Wild. Yeah, he's probably one of the most talented players in Wild history. I mean, like you said, he had the second best regular season of all time in Wild history in terms of points. And, yeah, it's just disappointing to lose a talent like that. I mean, you're not losing him for nothing. You're able to trade him, which is good. But, yeah, those buyouts of Parisi and Suter are going to haunt us for the next couple of years. Because, yeah, realistically, I mean, you have to expect this team to take a step back. I mean, I don't know if I can even expect them to be a top 3 team in the division this upcoming season. I would almost, maybe they'll be a wild card team, and then it's like, oh, here we go again, getting bounced in the first round because you'll have to play a Colorado or a St. Louis or somebody. Or not St. Louis. I guess it'd be a division winner from the other division, probably Calgary or someone again. Maybe the Kings. The Kings made the playoffs this year. Maybe they'll take another step forward with Fiala. Who knows? So yeah, crazy trade, but we knew it was coming, and it feels weird now that Fiala is actually gone. It's a little sad, honestly.
Yeah, I think it'll take a little bit to sink in. Everybody remembers, honestly, since he came here in that 1-for-1 trade that Paul Fenton made back in the day for Mikhail Granlund. I remember at the time it was like, oh man, feels like the Wild could have got more for Granlund, but definitely turns out as a winning trade for us easily, because I don't think Granlund's been the same since then. And then you got Fiala, who turned into our premier goal scorer right before Kaprizov got here, and then obviously he still had good seasons here, the last couple, even with Kaprizov in the fold too. So yeah, this one hurts. It'll take a little bit to soak in, but it's just I got to move on, I guess.
Yeah, and there's of course going to be the shock value, and everyone's going to be like, "That's all we got for him." I say you just got to give it a little. You got to give it a little time, because I mean, Faber is at least a year away from the NHL, if not more, and so it's going to depend. I mean, this could look really good in a couple of years, so it's just we'll see how it pans out. Plus, now we have 2 first-round picks. Maybe Bill Guerin does something with that as well in terms of making a trade. Maybe he goes and gets a center. Maybe he tries to trade up into the draft to get another, really good young prospect. So we have some flexibility now with our draft picks as well.
Yeah, I do love me some good initial reactions off a trade. Just right in the moment, got to get emotional, of course. Got to jump conclusions, act like, oh man, this is the end of the world.
Yep, Minnesota fan base is really good at that when it comes to all the sports, and I'm guilty of it too. So
overreactions for the win.
Yes, absolutely. Do you have any other final thoughts before we take off here?
Yeah, this is the first domino to fall for the Wild that everybody's waiting for. So now that it's happened, now we can kind of move on to other business and see what direction Guerin goes in from here, because I think that's a little bit more where the unknown lied, as far as like, do we bring Fleury back and do we couple him with Talbot, or what does that goalie situation look like? Or we do kind of to bolster this defenseman room that I felt like kind of struggled last year, although we did mid-season sign a couple of them new extensions that I kind of shake my head at. And then how do you replace Fiala, I guess, as far as his line goes, and who are you going to play with Boldy these days? I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how the rest of the offseason shakes out. I'm excited for it. Hopefully he's aggressive and makes some moves that could potentially help us for this upcoming season. It's hard to see the full picture right now when the offseason is just starting. So it'll be interesting. But that will do it for us for this edition of the North Star Takes podcast. I'm Bailey. He's Jacob. You can give us a follow on both Twitter and Instagram. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and click the like button, and let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Did the Wild get enough for Kevin Fiala? Did they, could they have gotten more potentially? And are you sad to see him go? Are you sad to see one of the most productive players in Wild history go? So until next time, thanks for watching.